श्रीभगवानुवाच हन्त ते कथयिष्यामि दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः प्राधान्यतः कुरु श्रेष्ठ नास्त्यन्तो विस्तरस्य मे अहमात्मा गुडाकेश सर्वभूताशयस्थितः अहमादिश्च मध्यं च भूतानामन्त एव च आदित्यानामहं विष्णुर्ज्योतिषां रविरंशुमान् मरीचिर्मरुतामस्मि नक्षत्राणामहं शशी वेदानां सामवेदोऽस्मि देवानामस्मि वासवः इन्द्रियाणां मनश्चास्मि भूतानामस्मि चेतना रुद्राणां शङ्करश्चास्मि वित्तेशो यक्षरक्षसाम् वसूनां पावकश्चास्मि मेरुः शिखरिणामहम् पुरोधसां च मुख्यं मां विद्धि पार्थ बृहस्पतिम् सेनानीनामहं स्कन्दः सरसामस्मि सागरः महर्षीणां भृगुरहं गिरामस्म्येकमक्षरम् यज्ञानां जपयज्ञोऽस्मि स्थावराणां हिमालयः अश्वत्थः सर्ववृक्षाणां देवर्षीणां च नारदः गन्धर्वाणां चित्ररथः सिद्धानां कपिलो मुनिः उच्चैः श्रवसमश्वानां विद्धि माममृतोद्भवम् ऐरावतं गजेन्द्राणां नराणां च नराधिपम् आयुधानामहं वज्रं धेनूनामस्मि कामधुक् प्रजनश्चास्मि कन्दर्पः सर्पाणामस्मि वासुकिः अनन्तश्चास्मि नागानां वरुणो यादसामहम् पितॄणामर्यमा चास्मि यमः संयमतामहम् प्रह्लादश्चास्मि दैत्यानां कालः कलयतामहम् मृगाणां च मृगेन्द्रोऽहं वैनतेयश्च पक्षिणाम् पवनः पवतामस्मि रामः शस्त्रभृतामहम् झषाणां मकरश्चास्मि स्रोतसामस्मि जाह्नवी सर्गाणामादिरन्तश्च मध्यं चैवाहमर्जुन अध्यात्मविद्या विद्यानां वादः प्रवदतामहम् अक्षराणामकारोऽस्मि द्वन्द्वः सामासिकस्य च अहमेवाक्षयः कालो धाताहं विश्वतोमुखः मृत्युः सर्वहरश्चाहमुद्भवश्च भविष्यताम् कीर्तिः श्रीवाक् च नारीणां स्मृतिर्मेधा धृतिः क्षमा बृहत्साम तथा साम्नां गायत्री छन्दसामहम् मासानां मार्गशीर्षोऽहं ऋतूनां कुसुमाकरः द्यूतं झलयतामस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनामहम् जयोऽस्मि व्यवसायोऽस्मि सत्त्वं सत्त्ववतामहम् वृष्णीनां वासुदेवोऽस्मि पाण्डवानां धनञ्जयः मुनीनामप्यहं व्यासः कवीनामुशना कविः दण्डो दमयतामस्मि नीतिरस्मि जिगीषताम् मौनं चैवास्मि गुह्यानां ज्ञानं ज्ञानवतामहम् यच्चापि सर्वभूतानां बीजं तदहमर्जुन न तदस्ति विना यत्स्यान्मया भूतं चराचरम् नान्तोऽस्ति मम दिव्यानां विभूतीनां परन्तप एष तूद्देशतः प्रोक्तो विभूतेर्विस्तरो मया यद्यद्विभूतिमत्सत्त्वं श्रीमदूर्जितमेव वा तत्तदेवावगच्छत्वं मम तेजोंशसम्भवम् अथवा बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्याहमिदं कृत्स्नम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत् ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे विभूतियोगो नाम 10मोऽध्यायः।
Hare Krishna, welcome you all once again for today's 12th session of the course on life lessons from Bhagavad Gita. We'll be doing chapter 10, one of the most important chapter, the opulence of the absolute. So we'll begin with the invocation. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamadam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Shakrijatam Shagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Shavadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Dhavita Shri Vishakanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Shrute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this chapter contains the 4 essential verses of the Bhagavad Gita and 8, 9, 10 and 11 verses. Can you see my screen and hear me properly?
Yes, Guruji.
So opulences, what is opulence means? Something which never diminishes. We come across people who are rich, who are beautiful, who are famous, intelligent, renounced, strong. All this, they were not there, they come into existence and they go away. So that cannot be considered an opulence. Opulence means something which remains with that person. And particularly, we are talking about the opulence of the absolute, in the sense who is having it to an unlimited extent. In other words, no one can equal or exceed God in these opulences. So, the section, the beginning, we have to know that Krishna is unknowable and the source of all. Why he is unknowable? Because the limited cannot understand the unlimited. Supposing a frog is there, it can understand the extent of its own well, but it cannot understand the extent of an ocean because it has no experience of it. So there are many things which are beyond our experience and therefore we cannot know them. So, and still he is the source of all. So there are many things in this universe which we don't know, but at the same time we are dependent on it. For example, we take the sun planet or moon planet. We are very much dependent on it for our existence, but nevertheless we don't know about it. So Krishna is the mysterious origin of everything. If you carefully analyze how everything has originated, if you go to the cause of all causes, then it is found to be Krishna. And one who knows Krishna is free from all sins. So what is sin? When we go against our nature, that is considered to be sin. We have 2 natures. One is a nature according to our body, mind, and senses. Another nature is that of the soul. So when we go against these 2 natures, then we incur what is known as sin, and that causes us suffering. or ignorance, or it terminates our existence. But when we know about Krishna, then gradually we become attracted to Krishna, we learn to serve Krishna, love Krishna, and then we attain his nature. Although we cannot become one with God quantitatively, at least we can understand a relationship with Krishna, and that frees us from all the sins, our tendencies to go against our nature. Now, Krishna is the origin of all qualities and personalities, whether it be good or bad. There's nothing actually speaking good or bad, because sometimes poison is there. That is also serving as a medicine. And sometimes good also can become bad. If a person is not healthy and if you feed him some very nutritious food also, he cannot digest it. So nevertheless, there are all qualities which we can find around us. They are ultimately both products of the three modes and beyond the three modes, but he is the origin of all of them. He is enabling them to exist, those qualities to exist. And these qualities are possessed in different personalities to different extent. And by accepting his powers, once we recognize that Krishna is the source of everything, he is the origin of all qualities and all personalities. As we can see in the Bhagavatam also, that lineage is given. How from Krishna, the four expansions, Vasudeva, Shankarshana, Pradyumna, Anuruddha, and from them Narayana, then from that Mahavishnu, then from Mahavishnu, Brahma, from Brahma, like this, how the creation has been going on. And with that extension of the creation, all types of qualities, good, bad, ugly, everything has been coming. So when we accept his powers, it leads to surrender. So what is surrender? Normally, we think surrender has got a negative connotation, which means we lose. When we lose to someone, we surrender to him. But when we surrender to God, when we surrender our false ego, then we gain. So that is the benefit of surrendering to Krishna. We get his protection and all that he can give us. Just like when you have a check, you surrender the check or some, then you get back in the form of money. So pure bhakti is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So that was already emphasized in the 9th chapter. So Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Material worlds means something which is always changing. It has to change. There are some things which have to change. And some things are permanent. That is the spiritual world. Its quality never changes. It is Satchit Ananda. Material is Achit and Nirananda. So this still, although they have their own relative purposes, Krishna is the source of both of them, or maintainer of all of them. And the wise people, those who are intelligent, they worship him. Worship him means whether they are in the material world or in the spiritual world, they know how to deal with it. And therefore, they're always absorbed in his discussions. Anything they have to do in this material or spiritual world, they connect it with Krishna because they know that it's connection with God. Now, so that's why we have to discuss this Bhagavad Gita, because this gets us closer to worshipping Krishna. And Krishna gives intelligence to his devotees. The more we approach Krishna, he gives us more intelligence because he is the reservoir of intelligence. And from within, how he is inspiring us? By being situated as the Paramatma inside us and as the spiritual master from outside in the form of scriptures. So he is giving us the intelligence and mercifully destroys the ignorance. So we have two things, and there is light, then the darkness goes away. So like that, by giving us knowledge, he is removing the ignorance. Now, before Krishna goes on to demonstrate his opulences, Arjuna first accepts Krishna's supreme position. So he bases his arguments not on his own opinion, but on what he has heard and he has also experienced. So Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. What the supreme absolute truth means? It is eternal, first of all, that is the first quality. And it is full of knowledge and is full of bliss, and it has a form. So from such thing only you can get all the other truth. And he is the purest, which means naturally in this world everything becomes contaminated. Suppose you go buy something, a raw material, it has an expiry date by which it has to be consumed, otherwise it gets spoiled. So no matter what you have in this world, it gradually gets contaminated. But he is so pure that he can make the impure pure. And he is unborn, which means he is not forced to take birth like us. He is not forced to come under the influence of the three modes where we have to change our bodies. And he is the greatest in all respects. And his supremacy is confirmed by great authorities like Narada, Vyasa, and so on. So these Narada, Asita, and Vyasa, they are also empowered incarnations of the Lord, literary incarnation and Shaktavesha avatars. So they are not affected, just like the Lord is not affected by what happens in this material world. These personalities also are not affected by the three modes, and therefore whatever they say is also perfect. But no one, still nobody can know Krishna except himself. Just like if you ask me what is in my bank account, only I know. I will not normally disclose it to everyone publicly. Similarly, Krishna is the only person who can know himself to completely, but still he is giving us some knowledge that is as much as required for us. Now Arjuna requests Krishna to tell more about his divine opulences, because the devotee is naturally inclined to know more about Krishna. Just like a rich man wants to become more rich, a famous man wants to know how to become more famous. Similarly, the devotee also wants to know something which will improve his devotion. Now, Arjuna, having heard from Krishna all that confidential, more confidential, and most confidential knowledge, he wants to now directly hear from Krishna about himself. And why he wants to hear? There's no satiation in hearing about Krishna. So, devotion is such that you never become exhausted, because Krishna is like that. He is inexhaustible. There are unlimited glories. Then Lord Krishna goes on to describe his vibhutis or opulences. Vishesha bhuti. Bhuti means opulence. Vibhuti means special, which you don't find in even anyone. So Krishna describes still only the most prominent of his opulences, because there are many universes. In each of these universes, he has unlimited opulences. Only which is within our range of perception, he is able to give that. Just like as they are unlimited, he is all-pervading super soul and the beginning, middle, and end of all entities. Because we have a beginning, middle, and end. So, but he has no such beginning, middle, and end. So, whatever knowledge we gather has a beginning and an end point. So, therefore, just like we have a spectrum of colors, only within a particular spectrum we can see visible spectrum is there, or audible range of sound is there. Now, there are various opulences of Krishna which we will be seeing in this chapter. But there is no end to Krishna's divine opulences. Again, these opulences are divine in the sense that they are not produced by the three modes. Three modes, any greatness, you find so many people with so many great qualities, but they are produced by the combination of the three modes, and eventually they also get lost. All that is majestic, beautiful, and powerful is a spark of Krishna's splendor. Even then, even though these are all material things which Krishna is going to describe now, even those powers are gained from the Krishna's opulences, just like a diamond is there. Diamond has some special qualities, but where it is ultimately getting that power from the sun only. So likewise, whatever material opulences we find around us, ultimately they are coming from Krishna's opulences. And he pervades and supports the entire universe with a single fragment of his power. So, but all this is very insignificant for him, because he is able to maintain so many universes. So that is the sum and substance of this chapter. Normally I summarize in the beginning itself, because usually we are not having sufficient time to complete the whole chapter, but even if we miss some important point, it's covered in the beginning. So in the previous chapter, Krishna concluded with the instruction to fix his mind upon him. Manmana bhava madbhakto, always remember me. Madhyaji mam namaskuru, worship me, offer your obeisances to me, become my devotee. So the same instruction he will again repeat it in the 18th chapter. So then a question arises on how can we remember Krishna? Now I don't have any experience of Krishna. I have heard very little about Krishna, and even if I heard it, I am not convinced about it. So therefore, how do we fix our mind, which is fixed on so many other things? So in this chapter, Krishna describes his opulences on which a devotee can fix his mind and remember him whenever he sees anything opulent, powerful, and beautiful in this world. If you look around us, we see so many things which are opulent, which look something beyond our range. still powerful and beautiful, but the moment we remember them and we are able to see that it's an opulence of Krishna, just like a person may be having a lot of currency, but see, because the government is printing the currency notes, he is able to have it. So a sensible man knows that whatever we may be, supposing I possess land, that land also I took it from someone. I built a house, I have a very beautiful house, but that house also I could have it because someone helped me to build the house. So in this world, even if someone has all these opulences, power and beauty, it is acquired from someone. So Krishna has explained how his different energies are working in the 7th and chapter and the 9th chapter. Now in this chapter, we'll explain his specific manifestations and opulences of devotees, knowing which one understands that the Lord is worthy of worship. So basically, Krishna is trying to convince us that what is the benefit of worshipping him, and uh, not that cannot be got from worshipping someone else like demigod or himself or the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Now, knowing that Krishna is unknowable and the source, first of all, we should understand that Krishna is unknowable, inconceivable. He is knowable, but to a limited extent by us. Just like we cannot know everything about the sun or the moon because we are limited. But still, he is the source of everything. So, in that sense, it is important for us to know him. Just like nobody knows about the virus, but we were forced to know about it because it was impacting our life. So although we cannot understand Krishna, know Krishna in complete, still we have to know about him because our existence depends on him. So this is said to be the more wonderful knowledge. Krishna is telling Arjuna, Mahabahu, O mighty armed Arjuna. So the father likes to encourage the son. Similarly, God wants to encourage the devotee. Because you are my dear friend filled with love, Priyamanaya. Krishna could recognize that Arjuna has this love. So if we also exhibit our love to Krishna, he is also willing to reciprocate immediately for your benefit. Krishna is the only well-wisher. So because he saw that Arjuna loves Krishna, he wants to give him more and more benefit, just like we would like to give all the benefits that we have to our own children. He's saying, Hita Kamyaya. He's also having a desire. His desire is to do Hita, to give benefit. I shall give you supreme knowledge, Paramam Vachaha. Vachaha means what he spoke. Only he can speak about himself. Greater than what I have spoke earlier. So the devotee is trying to please the Lord and the Lord is trying to please the devotee. Name viduh suraganaha. No one knows Krishna, who is the mysterious origin of everything. Mysterious means it is there, but I know it is existing, but still I cannot understand how it is working. So Suragana means hosts of demigods. Sura means demigod. Asura means demons. They are neither the hosts of nor the Viduhu. Viduhu means no. Prabhavam. Prabhavam means opulences. Maharshi means great sages. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages. Sages means wise man. A man with steady wisdom. We come across many intelligent people, but their intelligence is unsteady. But if someone has a steady wisdom, then he is said to be a sage. Neither the host of demigods or controllers nor the great sages know my extraordinary origin or opulences. Prabhavam means origin or then Aham Adirhi Devanam. Adi means I am the source. Devana means demigods. And Maharshina, sages. Both the controllers and the intelligent. I am the origin. Cha Sarvashaha. In all, every respect. Not in a, he's not partially the source of them. He is whatever can see. One cannot understand Krishna by scholarship. So one may say, okay, I am the most intelligent person. So can I understand Krishna? Or even if I'm not intelligent, I'll try to analyze myself by discussing with others. No, it cannot be understand Krishna by scholarship and speculation. One can understand Krishna in his actual situation only by the unprecedented mercy of Krishna. Krishna himself has to come and explain or send his representatives. Just like if I want to try this, understand the sun or the moon, I may know to a limited extent, but I can always there will be something shortcoming, unlimited shortcomings. So unless supposing if I want to see the sun at this moment, it's not possible. You may say that I have a friend in the US and now he's able to see the sun and he will take a video and send it to me, but still it's not a perfect experience. But if the sun were to, if I wait for 12 more hours and I see the sun rise before me, then I get a complete experience. So we have to know about Krishna by his mercy when he reveals himself or his devotees or from the books like the Gita and the Bhagavatam, which are the literary incarnations of Krishna. Now, what is the benefit of knowing Krishna? As we said, he is freed from all sins. Sin means our tendency. We have certain tendencies. They are known as sins, like lust, anger, greed, which are born of ignorance, raja, tama. But by knowing Krishna, Yomam, Ajam, Anadimcha, what should we know about Krishna? Ajam, how he is unborn, how he is not born by a product of the three, as a product of the three modes. Anadi, how he is beginningless. He is not dependent on anyone. In fact, he doesn't need a father and mother. Although when he appears in this world as to be born as the son of Devaki, Vasudeva, Nanda, and Yashoda, it is like the moon appearing in the horizon. It looks like the horizon is the source of the appearance of the moon, but it's an illusion. Veti means no. Loka Maheshwaram. Loka means worlds. Maheshwaram means the supreme proprietor of all the worlds. Asam Mudaha means undiluted. Mudaha means deluded. Asam Mudaha means undiluted. Martyeshu means among the mortals, men. And Sarva Pape Pramuchyate is freed from all sinful reactions in this world. So our nature is to do something against the known rules. Our tendency is to commit mistakes. Our tendency is to become illusioned. Our tendency is to cheat. Our tendency is to commit mistakes. But still, we can be freed from all sinful reactions in this world when we know about Krishna. So how is that? We will see. So it was mentioned that the person who knows Krishna in truth, Manushyanam sahasya kaschir yatit siddhaye yadatam api siddhanam kachin mam vetti tattvataha, Krishna said earlier. Out of thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. Among them, only one knows me in truth. Why? Because they are not able to know Krishna in truth is their body is constantly changing. Supposing you are seeing some object and your reference frame is constantly changing, then you cannot see it properly. So the conditioned soul change the bodies, but Krishna is unborn and his body is not changeable. So the changing thing cannot observe the unchangeable. All the demigods were created within this world, but Krishna existed before the creation of this world. Just like I cannot know about my father, grandfather, because I was born after them. Unless they tell me or they write down something for me to read later, I cannot know about them. So because all these demigods, they have a beginning and an end, they cannot know about Krishna who has no beginning and end. Now, what are the qualities and personalities that are existing in this world by which has their origin in Krishna? Krishna outlines some of them. Buddhi means intelligence, discriminating power. And jnanam means knowledge. Knowledge means something we acquire through our ears, nose, tongue, taste, touch. And then asam moha, freedom from illusion. Moha and asam moha. Kshamata means forgiveness. To forgive is divine. To err is human, to forgive is divine. So forgiveness can come from a person who has everything. If we lose something, we will never be, if someone steals something which we have, we cannot forgive that person because we think whatever little I had is stole from me. But Krishna has unlimited things, but nobody can deprive him. So he is always forgiveful. Satyam, truthful, because he doesn't have to tell a lie, although he may tell a lie for the sake of his pastime. But he need not hide anything. He can reveal everything about him because everything about him is perfect. So therefore he is truthful. And damaha, sense control. Or if you find these qualities in people around you, they also have to be appreciated because they have received the mercy of Krishna. And shamaha, mind control. Dama means sense control. Shamaha means mind control. Sukham, happiness, dukkam, distress, bhava, bhava means birth, abhavo means death, bhayam, fear, abhayam, fearlessness, ahimsa, nonviolence, shamata, equanimity. Equanimity means under both uh, dual situations like happiness, distress, hot, cold, victory, defeat, fame, infamy. You remain equal, equanimity. Tushti, satisfaction. Satisfaction is the greatest wealth. If you are satisfied, even if you have very little, you will be completely happy. But if you are dissatisfied, even if you have everything in this world, you become miserable. So tapa, austerity. Austerity means you are, even if you have the tendency to enjoy, you are regulating yourself. And dhanam means charity. Yasha, fame. Ayasha, infamy. Bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva pritak vida. Pritak vida means varieties. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. What is created by me? Each of one is getting something and they're losing something. All these qualities you can find in some people at some point of time, and they also lose it and after some time. But nevertheless, these are created by him alone. Now, the great sages, the Kumaras, this is the genealogical synopsis of the universal population. So one may ask how you say that Krishna is the origin of all these personalities. So there are the seven great sages, Maharishi, they are said. Sapta Rishis are there. The bear constellation, you can know, the great bear constellation. I cannot remember immediately, but Vashishta. So all these uh, great sages, and the four Kumaras, Sanat, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanak. So these are the four Kumaras of the sons of Brahma. And the Manus, 14 Manus are there. Swayambhu Manu, uh, Chakrusha Manu, all these Manus are there. There are 14 Manus in a day of Brahma. And the progenitors of mankind. And they all come from Krishna, born from his mind. So they were not born by union between man and woman. Just by his mind, they originated. And they were absorbed in thinking of me. And all the living beings descend from them. So that's why we have the word man coming from Manu. Manu Samhita, Manu Smriti, all this mean that the law book for mankind. Now, accepting Krishna's powers leads to surrender. Generally, when we come across a person who's very rich, famous, beautiful, strong, intelligent, we admire such people. Although initially we may envy such person, but we see that he has much more than we can envy. Then we learn to start appreciating him. I give up that envious and think that okay, it's better than envying him. Let me appreciate him. At least something I will get from him. So one who has convinced of this opulence and mystic power, vibhuti. Vibhuti means we cannot understand. Just like a diamond is there. Diamond has some very powerful properties. Can heal some diseases. But how it is acquired, that we cannot explain. But still we accept it. One who is convinced of its opulence and mystic power of mind, described in this chapter, engages in unalloyed devotional service. Because that is what Krishna has told earlier, that you engage in unalloyed devotion. But then one may ask, how can I be fully surrendered to Krishna? Because I don't know about him. So therefore Krishna tells himself in such a way that we will be motivated to do unalloyed devotion. Supposing I come across a person who is very strong, very famous, very rich, and he tells you just depend on me, you don't have to go to anyone else. So when we are convinced, yes, this person really is what he's saying is according to that, then we wholeheartedly will accept him. So similarly, Krishna is trying to say why first one has to engage in unalloyed devotional service. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo vetti tatvatah savikalpena yogena vidyate natra samshayah. This is very important. The highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality. Got it? Actually, ultimately, we are all spirit souls. No matter how much materially you advance, you have to give it up all because they do not belong to us. So what we have to cultivate ultimately is the spiritual qualities which will go with us even lifetime after lifetime. And that is reaches perfection when we know about Krishna. Just like a diamond is there, as I told, the diamond is getting its beauty from the sun ultimately. All the sun's energy is stored in the diamond. Just like we have a battery. The battery is storing the energy which it got from the power source. Similarly, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Supposing I ask a common man, he says, I know, yes, diamond is very valuable, it's very costly, everything. But if you go into the details, he will say, no, I'm sorry, I don't know. But if you know the value of something, you will long for it and achieve it. The following are the details. Now, pure bhakti is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, because when you do pure bhakti, we can get Krishna himself. So if you have Krishna with you, just like the Pandavas, they went to Krishna and said, we want you, we don't want your army also. Duryodhana even took Krishna's army, but ultimately it led to its defeat only. So when we do pure bhakti, we get Krishna, and when you get Krishna, we can get everything. So that is the summary of this chapter. And so here Krishna is describing the bhakti of the topmost devotees. Of course, we can find devotees everywhere around us. As I said previously also, even an atheist is one kind of a devotee only. But here we are going to talk about the bhakti of the topmost. And the real nature of himself which generates and nourishes that bhakti. So why is the topmost devotee doing devotion in the first place? That question should come to us. Why the most intelligent person is becoming a devotee, the most a strong person. We see, study the scriptures, we see the people who have had everything, they only become devotees. You don't see the poorest man becomes very good. But usually we find the most intelligent person, famous, strong, beautiful, renounced, he takes to devotion. So why is it? Huh? So because Krishna is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhava matta sarvam pravartate iti matvaya bhajante mam buddha bhava samantra. This is one of the most important of the four verses. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. The spiritual and material worlds means some things, as I told, there are changing, and some things which are permanent in the God's creation. But still, He is the source of both of them. He is maintaining them. He is creating them. Uh, Everything emanates from me and operates due to me. Those who know this engage in my devotion. Some person may not even know about this, and even if he knows, he is not convinced. But someone may know and is convinced, and is able to convince others. So such people engage in my devotional service. Such wise people lovingly worship me with their hearts. They do this wholeheartedly, not out of some sentiment or by force, out of fear, no, or some public opinion. So even if they are one person, they will follow this because they are fully convinced. So they engage all their body, mind, and words and intelligence. And what are the symptoms of such pure devotees? How can you recognize a pure devotee of Krishna? Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayanchastamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Just like you can recognize a person with some disease, if he has a COVID, we can say these are the symptoms. Again, people try to keep away from him. So similarly, how do you recognize a rich man or poor man or beautiful, ugly? All that, there are some symptoms. Similarly, Machitta Madgata Prana. With their minds absorbed in me, their lives fully devoted to my service, my pure devotees enlighten one another. Bodhayanta Parasparam. And Katayantascha Mam Nityam. By conversing about my always, not once in a while, always. And Tushyanticha Ramanticha, thus experience great satisfaction and bliss. So this is the characteristics of a pure devotee. Then Bhakti or devotional service or Krishna gives satisfaction in the stages of both practice and perfection. So one may say, okay, I am just a beginner and someone is in the advanced stage. Is there a difference between me and him? Yes, quantitatively, yes, but qualitatively, it's the same. Whether you take one drop of a sugar solution or one liter of sugar solution, it is both the same taste only. Of course, the amount you taste that may be different. So therefore, bhakti in the beginning or in the perfect stage, unlike in yoga, other yoga, karma yoga, jnana, ashtam yoga, the beginning and the end is totally different. And still it is not perfect. But in bhakti, even if you are in the beginning, you get the taste of the end. The great joy is that a devotee experiences by glorifying Krishna is spiritual bliss beyond the most. Normally, we don't get much satisfying by talking about others. Only by talking about us and that we get some happiness. But here, the devotee gets more happiness by talking about Krishna, and Krishna gets more happiness by talking about his devotee. No? But how does he grasp Krishna, who is infinite in form, qualities, and powers? Earlier we told the limited cannot explain the unlimited. Then how are you saying that a devotee gets unlimited happiness by glorifying Krishna? Huh? So, so who gives them the method of realizing Krishna? The previous verse described how devotees worship Krishna. The next two verses describe how Krishna reciprocates with them. So this is the reason they're able to experience the unlimited, because the Lord gives them the ability. Tesham sarta yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upyantite. To those who constantly engaged in serving me with love and devotion, I give them necessary understanding by which they can come to me. Supposing you are previously, at least when people used to go abroad, they used to say, we want a financial grant. And then the institution assesses their qualification and then they give a full grant. So actually, he doesn't have the money, but seeing something which he has, which is good qualification, educational background, the foreign country is able to sponsor the entire expenses. So similarly, what is there with us when Krishna sees that we have this love and devotion, he is giving us what we don't have. So what we don't have is the intelligence to understand Krishna, who's beyond our grasp. So Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. Because no matter what we try in this material world, our knowledge or whatever we acquire is going to be limited, and even if we have that, we lose it. But the ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. To achieve this goal, the path is slowly but progressively traversed. So is it really possible? Do you think it is possible for me? No, you may ask this question, but you have to just begin. Supposing you have bought a train ticket, you are sitting in the train, you are far, far away from the destination. But because you have bought an authorized ticket and run by an authorized company, you are sure that you will reach the destination. Similarly, although we may be unqualified in many ways, as long as we take the right process, we are sure to achieve the result. When the person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activity, he is acting in Karma Yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna but he takes pleasure in mental speculation to understand Krishna, is called Jnana Yoga. When he knows the goal is Krishna completely, knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, which is the complete yoga. So this we already discussed earlier. The complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. The last important verse is how Krishna mercifully destroys ignorance. First, on the one hand, he is giving us intelligence. At the same time, he is removing the ignorance. Just like a person is teaching a course, along with that learning comes many doubts. Earlier, we didn't have any doubts because we didn't know anything. But the more we learn, sometimes we get more doubts or more confusions. So parallelly, he's giving something and removing the unwanted. Tesham evan kampartam aham ajnanajam tamah nashayam bhavasto jnana deepena bhaswata. Tesham evan anukamparta. Anukampa means special mercy. Tesham, to show them special mercy. Aham ajnanajam. I nashayami bhavasto. Atma bhavasto means dwelling in their hearts. Nashayami means destroy. Aham, I. Ajnanajam tamaha. Ajam means born. Ajnana means darkness. How is this darkness born? Under influence of tamoguna or ignorance. Because all surrounding us is ignorance only. And we are accumulating ignorance only. So unless there is some help from outside, we cannot overcome that. Jnana deepena bhasvata. Bhasvata means lamp. Jnana deepena means lamp of knowledge. So he gives us the knowledge. Now, in response to what Krishna said, now Arjuna accepts Lord Krishna as supreme person. He confirms Arjuna is also not blindly accepting Krishna. He's saying, after hearing the above four essential verses from Krishna, Arjuna in the following verses glorifies Krishna's supremacy. Normally, when someone tells you something, you immediately are able to connect with it and yes, what you said is correct, like that. We may know it, but it goes in the background or it goes in the lower. It's not in the conscious level, but someone reminds you or tells you, then it reinforces that. So here, although Arjuna knew about Krishna, when Krishna himself told about himself, he could immediately connect with that. And he's expressing his desire to hear more about his vibhutis. So how Krishna's supremacy is confirmed to Arjuna by the authorities. He has heard from authorities also. It's not his own personal opinion. He has heard it many times from the Param Brahma Parandama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Aditevam Ajam Vibhum. This is what Arjuna has heard about Krishna. That he is Param Brahma, the supreme personality of God. Brahman means the living entity, an aspect of the Supreme Lord. Parabrahman means the maintainer of that Brahman. Parandhama, the ultimate abode, where we have to go and take shelter. Pavitram, the purest of the pure. He can purify even the most impure. Paramam Bhavan, the absolute truth, from whom all other truths are emanating. Purusham means the ultimate enjoyer. Shashvatam, eternal. Divyam, transcendental. Adidevam, original Lord, original controller. Ajam, unborn. And Vibhum, greatest, who is having all the opulences. All the great sages as Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and no, now you yourself are declaring it to me. He has heard from others, Krishna himself has told, and he also has this experience. But yet no one knows you. I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons can understand you. Although people may know about Krishna, to realize that is not so easy. So therefore, one has to accept what Krishna tells. Only just like you might have heard about that such and such as a rich person or beautiful person, but unless you really come in contact with that person himself discloses what he is having, we cannot know him. Only you know yourself by your own internal potency. So Krishna is covered with his internal potency, which does not, just like the sun is there, immediately it leads to the evaporation of water, and that produces a cloud, and that cloud prevents us from seeing the sun. So Krishna has his internal potency, which prevents us from seeing his greatness. O Supreme Person, Purushottama, origin of all, Bhuta Bhavana, Lord of all beings, Bhutesha. Esha means controller. Bhuta means living entities. God of gods, Deva Deva, controller of all controllers. Lord of the universe, Jagatpati, means even the non-living, moving, non-moving, everything is under his control. Please tell me more of your divine opulences, Divya Hi Atma Vibhutaya, by which you pervade all these worlds. How shall I constantly think of you? Why he wants to hear about this? So that he'll always remember Krishna. And why he wants to remember Krishna? So that he can do his duties. Ma Manusmara Yuddhacha, Krishna told him. We can do our duties if we know that, yes, behind me there's one very powerful person, very rich famous person, then we'll be very active. And suppose we think, oh, nobody is there to help me, then we will think lose interest in doing our work. So now, when Arjuna hears about Krishna, then he becomes motivated to fight also. So in what all forms do you manifest? Now, ultimately, Arjuna is clarifying all this for our benefit. So, through Arjuna, we are coming to know the greatness of Krishna, which will motivate us to do another devotion, and that will help us to do our duties. And there is no satiation in hearing about you, O Janardana. Please describe in detail your mystic power, Vibhutis, in Bhakti Yoga. The more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. So this is the stage of an advanced devotee. He is having taste, ruchi, asakti, bhava, and prema. But in our case, this is not there. We don't have this natural inclination to hear about Krishna. So unless someone forces us and makes us hear, this desire doesn't come at all. Anyway, now Lord Krishna describes his opulences, which are limitless. And so he is going to declare to us only the prominent ones, which we readily take notice of. First thing he says, I am the super soul in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and end, creation, maintenance, destruction of all. That we have experienced. We can see how we are able to communicate between one living entity and another. A robot cannot easily communicate with the other robot. Of course, people are coming up with some concepts like that, but that still, it's not possible unless a living entity is there and another living entity is there and there's a super soul. There cannot be any communication. We cannot go and communicate to a dead body, although the body is there intact. So the mood of understanding Krishna's vibhutis. So these are the, he's the sun among the luminaries. So we'll quickly go through them. Adityas means there are 12 Adityas. Among that he is Vishnu, Vamana Avatara. Diti and Aditi. Diti are the sons of demons from coming from Kashyapa, and Aditi are the Devas. They are sons of Aditi, another wife of Kashyapa. So this word Kashmir comes from Kashyapa. Anyway, Adityas, in that lineage, Vamanadev appeared. So he is the, Vamanadev is the chief of the Adityas. Among the luminaries, among the bright things is the sun. Among the winds, there are 47 Maruts. In that he is Marichi. And among the stars, Nakshatrana, the moon. The moon is said to be the brightest star. Vedas, among the, there are beautiful poetry, the Sama Veda. Among the demigods is the Indra, the chief. Among the senses is the mind, which is the sixth sense. Among living beings is the consciousness. A person can be recognized by how conscious he is. So there may be living beings, but they may have lower levels of consciousness. Then among the Rudras, among the destroyers, am Shankara, Lord Shiva. Among Yakshas and Raksha, Yakshas means they are spirits. They don't have a body, but they're very powerful. Rakshasas means they're Kubera. Kubera is the king of wealth. You go to Tirupati and Tirumala also, he's there. That's why that place is so rich. And Vasus, 8 Vasus are there. Among that, he is the fire. Among mountains, he is the Meru mountain, which is said to be the topmost. It is the pivot around which all the planets are rotating. And among the priests of the demigods, he is Brihaspati. Among the commanders, he is Kartikeya, Muruga. Among water bodies, he is the ocean. Among great sages, he is Bhrigu. Bhrigu was sent to test who is the greatest, Vishnu, Shiva, or Brahma. So he came and gave a certificate that yes, Vishnu is the supreme. So he is the great sage, and vibrations of Omkara, which is the origin of all the sounds. And among the sacrifices, the japa, Yajnanam Japa Yajnosmi. So to chant the Lord's name is the greatest sacrifice. Among immovable things is Himalayas. The Meru mountain sometimes moves because the universes are revolving, but the Himalayas, they are fixed. And among the trees is the Ashwatha tree or banyan tree. Among the sages, among the demigods is Narada Muni. Among the Gandharvas means musicians, he is the Chitraratha. Among perfected beings is Kapila Muni, who is the son of Devahuti and Kaddamu Muni. Among the horses is Uchchaishrava, which was produced during the churning of the ocean. Among the elephants is Airavata, who is the elephant carrier of Indra. Among men, he is the king, monarch. Among weapons is the thunderbolt, which is used to break the mountains. Among cows, he is the Surabhi cow or Kamadhenu, which can produce unlimited milk. And among the causes of preparation is Kandarpa, the Cupid. Then among serpents is Vasuki, which was used to churn the ocean around the Mandara mountain. Among many hooded snakes, there are snakes and many hooded snakes. Is the Anantasesha, which has thousands of millions of heads. Among aquatics, which live in the water, he is the king of the oceans, he is the Varuna. Among ancestors, Aryama, ancestors, forefathers, is Aryama. Among the dispensers of law is Yamaraja. Among demons, he is Prahlada, because Prahlada was a devotee among the demons. Among subduers is time. Time controls everyone. Among beasts, he is the lion, which is the king of the forest. Among the birds is Garuda, the bird carrier of Krishna. Among the purifying agents is the wind. Among the weapons, Parashurama, the holders of weapons is Parashurama, who had an axe, and Rama, who had his bow. Among is the shark, is the river Ganges, the beginning, middle, and end, spiritual knowledge, argumentative knowledge which leads to the truth, the letter A, which is the first alphabet, the dual words like Ramakrishna, which are combined 2 words, and then time, Brahma, the creator, death, which devours everything, including our memory, and he is the generating principle. He is the fame, fortune, memory, fine speech, patience, intelligence, steadfastness, Brihat Sama, Gayatri, among the poetic meters, the November, December, which is the best month when the harvest is got, flower bearing spring, Kusumakara, and then the cheats, he is the gambling. People accumulate a lot of money and suddenly they lose everything. So who is that? Who's responsible for that? Krishna. And splendor, the splendor of the splendid, victory among the victorious, adventure. Adventure means some people are able to invest in some endeavors. You and I will hesitate to endeavor and to do something, to begin something, innovate. But there are some people who are very ambitious. So it's the strength of the strong. And among the descendants of Vishnu is Vasudeva, Balarama, the father of Krishna is Vasudeva. So sometimes it is told Vasudeva refers to father of Krishna, or it can refer to the Balarama also. Among the Pandavas is Arjuna, among the sages is Vyasa, and among the priests of the demons is Shukracharya, Bhushana Kavi. And he's the punishment among suppressing lawlessness, morality, silence. Silence is golden, we say, and wisdom, then seed for the existence. So, and ultimately, Krishna says there is no end to this divine vibhutis and grandeur. What I have spoken is a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Just like you come across a rich person and he says, okay, I have an account here, I have a house there, I have an estate there. Okay, an intelligent person will understand, yes, you don't have to tell more. I now understood how rich or you, powerful you are. So, having explained his vibhutis individually, Lord Krishna will now speak of them as a whole. In conclusion, what Krishna says is, know that all majestic, beautiful, powerful creations in past, present, and future spring from but a fragment of my splendor. Krishna is himself saying, the scriptures are saying, the devotees are saying that this is fact. Yat yat vibhuti mat sattvam shrimat ujjitam eva va tattat evava gachatvam mama tejomsha asambhavam. Asambhavam means it's not possible to know this. In this way, Lord Krishna gathers together all the vibhutis which he did not mention. So you may say, okay, Krishna mentioned all this. What about this? He has not mentioned. No, even if something is not mentioned, that also can be grouped under what he has mentioned. One should consider that all glorious objects are not different from Krishna by being under his control and by being perverted by him. So some person may say, okay, Krishna spoke this 5,000 years ago. At that time, the modern things were not there. So, but no, whatever is there, past, present, and future, they are all a spark of his splendor for those who believe in this. Now, at the same time, is the all-pervasive super soul. But what is the need of all this detailed knowledge with a single fragment of myself that pervade and support this entire universe? Even if you accept that he is the super soul, that itself is a very big job he is doing. अथवा बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तव अर्जुन विष्टभ्याहं विदं कृष्णं एकांशेन स्थितो जगत्. Although I am situated in one place, I am able to maintain this entire universe. So who is such a person who can do that? How Krishna is the source and base of everything in this universe is all pervading by the expansion of this partial representation. Who enter. So this super soul is in three stages. One is the super soul of the universes, super soul of the living entities, and the super soul of the Brahma also. So these are the three types of Vishnus. Okay, we'll stop there. Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? So there's a question here or comment. Why do we worship Narayana form and Krishna as Supreme Personality God? Yes, no? But because we don't know that Krishna is the source of Narayana, we do that. Or people generally have a feeling that we will go to Vaikuntha, means there's no suffering. Kunta means suffering, Vaikuntha means no suffering. So that's how we are normally taught, that we want to go to Vaikuntha where there's no suffering. So actually Krishna is the source of Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And from that Sankarshana, again Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, the second quadruple expansion comes. And then from that comes Narayana. And from Narayana come the Vishnus. And from the Vishnu comes all the other creations. So because Narayana means the shelter of all the Naras. Nara means living entities. Naranarayana Rishi, the Arjuna is an incarnation of Nara. Narayana also incarnates. Anyway, so this is actually Krishna is the source of Narayana. Narayana is in charge of the Vaikuntha Lokas. There is the Bhuloka, the Bhu, Bhuvar, Swar, Mahar, Jana, Tapa, Satya, all this and lower, all this constitute one universe. Like this, many universes are in the body of Mahavishnu, and this Mahavishnu is coming from an aspect of Narayana, who is in the Vaikuntha Loka. And there are many planets in the Vaikuntha Loka, where there are 24 forms. Just like we have four hands, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, holding the conch, disc, lotus, and uh, club. So depending on which hand holds which item, there are 24 forms. So these are all expansions of Narayana. So all these detailed explanations are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Ete cha amsa kalapamsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari akalam loke mridiyanti yuge yuge. So that verse is said to be the main theme of the Bhagavatam, from which all other contradictory things become reconciled. The people get confused. Is Vishnu the source of Krishna? Krishna the source of Vishnu? Or Krishna is God, or Vishnu is Shiva is God, Brahma is God? All these confusions can be resolved by this one particular verse. Ete cha amsa kalapamsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So there it's clearly explained who is Narayana, what is the relationship with Krishna and Vishnu, Narayana, and all the demigods, Brahma, Vishnu. All this is very clearly explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are in the middle of the course, almost 12 sessions. We have 12 more sessions to go. I am thankful to those who have been patient enough to come up to this. Please be a little more patient, maybe 2 more months and we'll complete the course. Hare Krishna. There's a question from Karthik. You are free to unmute yourself also. The participants, if you raise your hand, they will allow you. We don't want to restrict you anyway. What happens to those who worship the opulences independent of Krishna? Yeah, it is not to our benefit. Because supposing you see a very valuable object lying on the ground, our nature will be to immediately grab it. But if you know, yes, it belongs to someone, supposing on the road you see something very costly thing that the government has set up with 5 lakh rupees, they set it up on the street. Once you know, yes, this government has set up, then you will be afraid. Otherwise, you will think, okay, why not steal it? ATM is there. ATM has a lot of money loaded in that. Let me bring that ATM whole box. One person did like that also. He tied it to the back of his car and he tried to drive it, but he got caught. So the point is, when we see these opulences and we don't know to whom they belong, our nature will be to grab that. Like Ravana wanted to grab Sita. Yeah. So that will become a. So therefore, we have to see that yes, this opulence is there and this belongs to Krishna and he is willing to share it with us. Yes, he is not. God doesn't want to give the opulence to himself, provided we approach him in the proper way. There are some rich people, if you approach them in the proper way, they are willing to share their benefits to others. So, okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. So we'll meet again next week. So now Krishna has spoke in the previous chapter. Krishna talked about his unalloyed devotion, and in this chapter, Krishna says why we have to do unalloyed devotion to him. Next chapter, Krishna will reveal to Arjuna the universal form. Arjuna wants to know more about Krishna so that he can tell it to others, or people come to know about him. Because after seeing these opulences, someone may say, okay, I have this opulence, so I am God. Uh, so therefore, to disprove all these so-called claims, Krishna is going to show the universal form in the next chapter to say that only unless someone is able to show his universal form, he cannot be God no matter, even if he has these opulences which Krishna has outlined. Uh, there's no way can come close to Krishna. Anyway, that's also a very important chapter. And as I said, these middle 6 chapters are the most important. Among that, the middle is 9 and 10, which we have discussed last week and this week. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So, Paresh or Patitwan, you can end the session. So we'll have this detailed discussion on this chapter from Monday to Friday, 7 to 8 o'clock in English and Hindi. Please try to join whenever possible. The same thing which we talked now, we'll discuss in a shorter time, or in the sense that we cover approximately 8 verses per day, and you can get more opportunity to clarify your doubts also. Very much. Yeah, I think I already sent that PowerPoint in the group, but they forgot to share it. We'll do that right away. Okay. Paresh or Pratit Pawan are there? Can end this.
No, Patit Prabhu has to end the meeting. He is the host.
Will you call or should I call?
I will call. I am calling him.
Hare Krishna Guruji.
You can end the session.
Yes, Guruji. I'll end the meeting.
Yeah.